Hey everybody.
I'm Mo.
And I'm Katy, and this is
The Mo and Katy Show. She's already laughing.
Mo is just making fart noises with her hands.
Listen, act your age, which is not... Anyway,
we are super excited because we are on the cusp of a really exciting event that we are going to get to attend in Texas.
Well, and last weekend, and there's going to be a tie-in. Just
Okay.
hopefully, I'll find it.
Buckle up.
But but listen. So last weekend we were in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and
Yes.
we were emceeing the Show of Champions for Region 19, Sweet Adelines, and the theme for the convention and the competition was up, up and away with
up and
hot
away.
air balloons. So
In my beautiful balloon.
No, so what we did is, of course, we bought uniforms. And so one of the ones that we got was, they look like the Elmer Fudd hats, like with the ear flappies. But what makes it not an Elmer Fudd hat is not only the lisp and the speech impediment.
We are not hunting rabbits.
But the goggles. And you got those. They were awesome. And so we are going to get to use these when we go to this.
Yeah, nothing says, like, let's stay cool in Texas in late April like a insulated hat.
Yeah. And
So.
and if the tailor comes through for me, my dad's wool Army Air Corps jacket.
But it's so cool.
Yeah,
it
it'll
is
be neat.
really, I remember you got the jacket out and you said, should I have this adjusted because it belonged to your dad?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what your dad would want, would be for you to be actually be able to wear it. And right now it's not in a style or size that you can wear.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to be able to wear that vintage piece custom tailored to you and represent him that way.
So for those of you who don't know me, my dad and I were not the same size.
No. He was a tiny little man.
No, but so I'm excited. So I should get it back on Monday. But where we are headed is to Sweetwater, Texas, to Avenger Field, to the Women Airforce Service Pilot, and the acronym is WASP, singular, because the acronym already has pilots. So Women Airforce Service Pilots, and the acronym is WASP. And we're going to the WASP Homecoming. It's an annual event, and I don't think there will be any actual WASP there, but there will definitely be a lot of family members and friends. And I just was on the phone the other day with Nell Bright, who is 103.
Sharp as a tack.
Yeah, super sharp. And I was just kind of trying to get some stories. She's got some funny stories, man. These ladies, I'll tell you what. I'm really grateful because these women paved the path for what Jen and I got to do. And I'm, maybe Jen and I would have had, and other women aviators would have, excuse me, I've got a cough. Excuse me, would have had a chance to get into a cockpit, but they definitely made it easier.
Yeah.
And so I'm always grateful for these people who've paved the path so that it may not be paved, but it is definitely less rocky for the rest of us.
Doesn't have to be paved for the plane to land, though. That's kind of...
No, actually, there are a lot of short takeoff and landing fields, and that the first plane that I flew, the C-27, which is, if you're watching, it's this plane right here. If you're not watching, it is still this plane right here. Was actually, we landed on dirt strips.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow.
Well, that just crashed your little
It
something.
tried.
Yeah,
It
well,
tried. So as you know, here on the Mo and Katy Show, that's what we like to talk about is positive disruptors, people that go out of their way to lean into things that they know they are about, which they are passionate
about,
and disrupt the norm and shake things up and bring positive change by not being afraid to be the first or only at something. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about mainly women in aviation, but focusing on the WASP aspect of that because we are really excited to get to go spend time honoring these amazing women. But we'll talk about some other WASP adjacent aviation kind of things. And I love this. This is not my world, as you know. I have flown planes only as a passenger. And I love flying with Mo because I get all like I want her to get all geeky about it. I'm like, what's that thing? And she's like,
and I'm like, that's the food cart.
Flap. Yeah.
What's that thing?
Headrest.
That's the flight attendant. What's this thing? That is your purse. But no, specifically we want to talk about, one of the WASP we want to talk about is Bernice B. Haydu. And that's just a fun last name.
It is.
It's Haydu, but Haydu, what's up? Like,
Haydu.
Hey, I'm like, how you do? Fine. Yeah, so she was she was actually in the second to last class of WASP to get trained and get her wings, but she was a WASP and was very instrumental. After the WASP disbanded, she was very instrumental in getting them recognition as veteran status because the WASP were considered civilian, almost like contractors.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy what they, and I focused in on another one as well. Hazel Ying Lee, who was another very, very important to the whole WASP story. And I want to take a little, some little side trails too.
Well, we'll see where your side trails go because I'm pretty sure it didn't go where mine went.
So, Mo, I'm not an aviator. I don't have a lot of aviation experience, but I did want to share that when I was in 4th grade, I did a report on Amelia Earhart.
Okay.
And dressed up as her. So
yeah, we're gonna
I
need
feel
to
like
see
that
those
pretty
pictures.
Much qualifies me.
Sure.
But I just remember being fascinated by Amelia Earhart because she really, she did things that other women had not done, and forged a path. So I just remember being like, as a girl, being really impressed and fascinated by that.
But here's something else too. I want to make sure we differentiate. I think there are some, and I'm just going to call them disruptors, and I don't mean any negative toward this, but there are some people who do things because people say they can't, right? And there are some people, and this is where the category I put of positive disruptors, they do it because it's something they want to do.
Yeah.
And even if there's not somebody who looks like them doing that, they don't let them stop. They don't let that stop them, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference between being disruptive for the sake of being disruptive, which is probably how you were in 4th grade. And
I think that's how you are all the time.
Correct. But I take after you in the 4th grade.
Disruptive for disruptiveness' sake.
Right. I'm also not the one who laughs at fart noises. So
you're the one that makes the fart noises.
Who's worse, the one who makes them, or that's right. Yeah, that's probably bad. No, but I think there's something to be said for people who do something because it's something that they are passionate about and something they want to do, and just because there's nobody who's doing it doesn't stop them. And I think that's where the WASP board, they didn't think that women could fly for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
And they went like, I want to fly, I want to do that job, and they were good at it, and there was nobody else who looked like them doing that, and they're like, oh, that's not going to stop us, and so they did.
So that makes me want to ask you then, when you were in high school in the 80s, like being a pilot was probably not like what every girl was dreaming of at that point. What was it that made you, well, I know you have a service of, you have a history of service in your family, military service, but when you were like in high school, when you were in 4th grade, when you weren't dressing up like
Mrs.
Amelia Earhart,
smelled a lot like vodka.
Oh, that's suspicious. What was it that made you think like, I want to be the one to fly those planes someday?
So here's the thing. I wish I had a cool story like that. Like a lot of people are like, oh, it was, okay. I was laying on my back looking up in the sky and I saw this metal thing flying across and I thought, you know what? I want to be in that. I don't have a cool story like that. It was, again, I really do think that my life has been a series of either doors cracked open and I kind of pushed them open and saw something there and did the hard work to make whatever it was to be able to walk through that door. I wish I had a cool story. I've always wanted to be a pilot and always wanted to be in aviation, but I don't have anything. Like my dad always talked about World War II because he loaded bombs onto planes. He was an armament guy. And he also told me that officers couldn't be trusted. So obviously I wanted to be an officer because, you want to prove your parents wrong. I don't know if I proved them wrong because I was an officer, but I don't know if I couldn't have not been trusted. So, anyway.
Fart sounds.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Mo.
I'm not the one laughing.
Air Force is so proud.
I went to 4 years of college to. Actually, that was my downfall when I was in college. I don't know what it is about bodily noises, but if an upperclassman would burp or fart near me, I would lose it. And I'm trying to stand at attention with a book in front of my face, and I was just shaking. I just was laughing so hard. I don't know why.
Anyway.
So where were we? Farting, burping, 4th grade. No, but I think that it's one of those things where like I always wanted to be a veterinarian until I saw where the thermometer went. And I'm like, yep, not for me. But it's one of those things where, yeah, that'd be cool if I was a sheriff. Yeah, that'd be cool as a cowboy. Yeah, that'd be cool as a pilot. And it was one of those doors that kind of cracked open, and I was at the academy, and I had the opportunity. I went flying. You know, we did the gliders, we did the T-41, and so all these doors just kept opening, and so I tried it, and I really, really loved it. But I also think the thing that I liked about flying is not actually the flying part, and I think that's why I'm attracted to the WASP and the camaraderie and the honoring their legacy, because it's not about the stick and rudder. It's not about the actual act of flying. It's the act of the crew coming together, whether it's the ground crew or the in-aircraft crew. That's the part that I like, is the crew concept and the camaraderie.
And the leadership, and you always excelled at leadership and leading teams, and I think that was part of the whole experience for you too. But you also did have some first and only kind of experiences too as a pilot. Yeah. You were the first. You were the first female pilot to land a plane in Tana, Ecuador? No?
Well, it was the first U.S. Air Force plane to land in there.
But you were a chick flying a plane. So.
That is true.
Bam.
So. Yeah, but I mean, anyway, going back to the WASP and like with one of the things that I look at with Haydu is, and again, if you look at the WASP, there was only 1,100 of them. There was only really 2.5 years that they were in service.
Yeah.
But small amount of service with huge, disproportionate impact.
Yes.
I mean, again, what the roads that they've paved and the things that they did. But what I really admire about Haydu is after the WASP disbanded, she was really, really critical in helping them get veteran status. Like she did, it wasn't just like, I did this thing and I'm going back to my life. Like focused on that, getting people the status.
Until, was it 1977 that they finally were?
Yeah, after 1945, 46 when they were disbanded, like 45 they were disbanded. Yeah, not till 1977. So, very, very much after the fact.
And what I kind of discovered, and I don't know that I realized this exactly, that the whole reason the women were brought in was because during World War II, they were actually running out of male pilots to test. So that's why they brought in the female pilots that they trained them. And the WASP organization went under, it was some other names before it became.
Yeah, there was like the WAC, the WAFs.
Before it became that. And I thought that was interesting. It's like, well, it's almost like, oh, now you need us. Okay.
Yeah, right. Well, and then after the war, it was like, okay, now you don't need us anymore.
Yeah. So it was, the attack on Pearl Harbor was an inciting incident there, and there were not enough male pilots to sustain the war efforts. And the commander, the U.S. Army Air Force commander, Hap Arnold, was the one who, I don't know if he got the idea or he's the one that just implemented the WASP. And it was created in 1943 under the famed aviator Jacqueline Cochran.
And I've been doing some interviews with some children of WASP, and some of them they're like, yeah, my mom and Jackie would email back and forth. I'm like, not email, sorry. They would stone tablet and chisel. No, that's a little bit for
carrier pigeon.
Yeah, but they would communicate like they were friends with. Like for me to hear somebody say, oh yeah, my mom and Jackie were friends. I'm like, that is just. I don't know what the equivalent is in your world, but like that'd be like your dad saying, "Yo, I had dinner with Bach or Beethoven." I don't know what the equivalent is, but
how old do you think my dad is?
No, I mean, I don't know how recent Bach and Beethoven are. But anyway, no, but it's just amazing to be able to be, and that's why I'm really excited for you to be there. It's like for me to go and walk the grounds and be in the hangars and see where these women walked is it's such a cool feeling. So
that's amazing.
But this is one of the things that I liked about Haydu is, so after the WASP disbanded, she was calling different airlines and probably emailing them and asking them, trying to get a job with these different airlines. And she said, I've never heard no said in so many different ways. Like, it, like, no, hell no. So. Yeah. So,
are you kidding?
Yeah, like, you're a girl.
One thing that I thought that was interesting, sorry, just to differ from, to go off the path from the WASP a little bit, in 1930, there was a woman named Ellen Church, and she was a pilot who was not she was not able to get a job in the airlines flying because it was 1930, and that's just not what they did. So she was the one that proposed to airline executives that women be basically these hostesses on planes.
Oh.
And that was she was hired on a 3-month trial basis by Boeing to be one of the first 7 flight attendants.
Oh.
For airlines. Now, here are the requirements for flight attendants in 1930.
I'm sure I don't meet any of them.
You had to be under 115 pounds.
Nope.
You had to be a nurse, and you had to be unmarried.
Oh, I'm married. Yeah.
I'm not 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why those were the requirements, but so the first 7 flight attendants were all because this woman who was a pilot was unable to secure a job piloting in the commercial airlines.
So she just wanted to be on the plane.
Exactly. So it was this first 1930 was this first class of 7.
What did they call them
flight
initially?
attendants.
Hostesses?
I think it was something. I mean, now of course they just call it flight attendants, but it was like basically a hostess on the airplane.
So unmarried nurse and 115 pounds or less.
Tiny little thing.
I don't know anybody like that. Well, but you know, it's interesting. So the WASP, I hear a lot of stories from the WASP when they would walk around in their uniforms. Is most people thought they were flight attendants, like they,
sure.
you know, but they were not called flight attendants. They were called stewardesses. You
That's
know,
true. That's true.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me when people. Well, okay, we were just talking earlier today. Your sister, I mean, we met through Barbershop World, and a lot of Sweet Adelines are going and also competing in the men's, what used to be men only, Barbershop Harmony Society.
Yes.
And your sister just had an incident, not incident, but when they went to check in, what happened?
They went to check in at this
Four
organization, 4 women competing in the same competition as everybody else. And basically they get okay, so you're a spectator. And they're like, no, we're competing. So it's like the organization, just like many things in a world that is coming around from being so male dominated, are not used to women stepping up into these positions. Yeah. And they kept having to say like, no, we're competing. We're not the wives of competitors.
Right. We're not the stewardesses. We're not the hostesses. We're not the flight attendants.
We're flying the plane. Yeah. Is basically what they were saying. So.
I just think that's interesting that like we're talking from 1945, now we're talking 2025, and those kind of, and I'm just going to call them misunderstandings. I mean, it's not like they do this on purpose. Some things are done on purpose, but I think that there's an expectation we have. Like if you're a barbershop Harmony Society, BHS, which used to be only men, is very recently started allowing women to come in. The paradigm in your head is this is a men's event. So when you see women, the understanding is they're not on stage in the cockpit; they're in the audience. Yeah. You know, as a passenger.
Well, and then who was Come From Away? What was her name?
Jen Colello.
Not Jen Colello. Yeah. That's my world.
Beverly Bass.
Beverly Bass. She was the
first female captain.
Captain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, like was not taken seriously, and was even despised by the flight attendants.
Yeah,
for a while. So that's a whole story too.
Yeah.
So it's just anybody who has had to pave the path has gone through things that we as women won't have to go through because they've chosen to be the first ones to do it.
And we may still go through those things.
Sure.
But it's almost like there's been a precedent set. Like, so there is somebody that has done that before. So you're having to prove yourself, but you're not having to prove your gender or your species. I don't know what's.
I want to tell actually, and I mentioned Hazel Ying Lee, who was also another WASP. She was the first Chinese American woman to fly for the United States military. Oh. And she was a WASP. But the funny thing, I thought this story was funny. She was flying. Hold on, let me see something. She was, where is it? Sorry. Oh, she was delivering something over a field in Kansas. And one of the farmers, armed with a pitchfork, was chasing Lee and her plane around because he thought that the Japanese had invaded Kansas.
Dear Kansas farmer. Number one.
But so Lee told the farmer who she was and demanded that he stop. And she was actually known as someone who had a great sense of humor. So again, I think that speaks to the fact that your sense of humor can get you through a lot of things as well.
Yeah.
And she would use lipstick to put Chinese characters on the tail of her plane and the planes of her fellow pilots.
Oh,
So
God.
that was something that she was known for among
Again,
the WASP.
that's the camaraderie stuff. But here's something, I mean, you think about this. I know all Asians look alike. For those of you who are just listening, I'm rolling my eyes. That was sarcasm. But you think about, and I know when COVID came around, there was a lot of people who assumed if you were Asian, you must be Chinese, therefore you are the carrier of said. No, I'm serious. This is something that happened, right? And then, but you think about this. The inciting incident was when Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor with, kamikazes. So you are Asian descent and you're if you're in Kansas, you don't know. I don't know how big you are up on Facebook in 1945. But
I'm guessing you don't have any Facebook friends then.
He's on Facebook Live. He goes, he's got his phone in one hand, a pitchfork in the other, and there's Ling.
Pitchfork right.
Yeah, Kansas is a big target. For I don't know what.
But thank goodness it said that she was calm and fearless, and just would take anything, she would take it all in stride.
Yeah, well, I think you have to, right? Yeah. It's almost like you have to. I love that.
Yeah, that was a fun, and I'm hoping, it's fun reading up on these women, and I'm hoping when we go to Sweetwater, I'm going to be looking for some sort of representation of Hazel, Ying, Lee to see, and I'm sure there'll be something
I know you're
there.
looking at me. I am Japanese. Not in Kansas anymore. Anyway.
I'm not even going to say anything.
All you white Ohioans look alike, so. You're from Ohio. Do you know John? Anyway. So many ways we can go this. One of the things that we want to talk about is we will actually be doing a live podcast from Avenger Field on Saturday morning around 9:15. So we're gonna do it on YouTube live.
Saturday, April
26th.
26th.
You see how 2025 for sure. We are sure 2025. But yeah, we're going to be actually doing a live podcast from Avenger Field, and super excited about that as well.
Yes.
Just to talk about, but to be, and by then we will have already been through the dinner. We'll have been through the WASP brunch. We'll have been through so many times. We're going to hear the stories either from family members or even people that knew them, and just hear those stories. And what I think is really cool is when family members hear stories about their family members from other family members. But stories they didn't know,
knew each other.
Yeah.
Most likely.
So because it was a tight knit camaraderie, and this weekend is kind of the weekend we're going to in April. That was their reunion, that was their homecoming weekend. So,
but it's a really good, and I'm excited from a musical standpoint. And again, this is one of the reasons I love what you and I are able to do together, because we're able to again see what we have in common and combine our superpowers. And I mean, I never thought I would have the privilege of going to an aviation event for women, but because you let me into your world, I get to do that. But what I get to bring too is music from that era. 1920s, 30s, 40s, which is fantastic music. So I get to sit and provide that backdrop, which will bring the nostalgia. And my hope is to make it enhance the experience even more. Absolutely. So I love that. Our worlds get to combine and that we get to do this together. And I just think it's a privilege to be able to provide that for these women who were just unrecognized for so many years, and to honor them in this way. So that's gonna be really cool.
Well, unrecognized is a good transition to our call to action for this week.
It is.
When you look around, I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening and are produced, or whatever they're manufactured, whatever they are. There's a lot of things that happen, but there is somebody behind the scenes who made that happen, who was maybe not instrumental or the inventor of it, but they had a role in that.
Yeah.
And our challenge to you is to find those unsung heroes, those people who are in the shadows, the behind the scenes people, and it's not about pushing them into the limelight, but at least make eye contact with them and just tell them thank you, and that you see what they did and you appreciate what they did. We always say we want to schwack people, right? It means we want to see people, we want to hear people, we want to understand people, we want to appreciate people, and we want to connect.
Because our world is in a schwacking deficit.
Yes, we are in a schwack hole. You started it.
We are. But you can be a part of the schwacking revolution and schwack people real good.
Yeah.
Schwack hole. That's fantastic.
Schwack hole. Schwack hole. Somehow, why does that sound bad? Like, oh yeah, Katie Stevens, she's a real schwack hole, if you know what I'm saying. Like, oh, thank you. That's so nice.
Thank you
Of
so
all
much.
the schwack holes in my life,
You're my favorite.
is it schwack's hole? No, it sounds like wax.
Careful what you pluralize there.
Just pluck that out, didn't you?
So
We just gonna wax poetic over the schwack's hole. Schwack hole. Again, schwack is not a bad word.
no,
See, hear, understand, appreciate, and connect.
that's right.
We want you to find and look for the unsung people, look for the behind the scenes people, look for the people who are in the shadows making things happen. That is their love language. They love doing that. They don't want the attention, but at least give them some one-on-one eye contact and let them know that you see what they've done, you see how they've supported, and that you appreciate what
And you
the work
see that
they've
they're
done.
making a difference.
Yep.
And you see that because a lot of times it is the small things that give way to the grandiose things that get all of the attention.
Yep.
But there are people out there who are paving the path for other people to do what they do and make it a little easier for them later.
Yeah.
So
So go be a schwack hole. She's still chewing on that
no,
one.
I was
Yeah, let it go.
I'm
No.
trying to say
Nope.
is just going to make it worse.
Yeah, that's how I roll. Oh wait, okay. And we just want to remind you a couple things. Number one, we will be podcasting live from Avenger Field on Saturday, the 26th of April, about 9 a.m. Texas time. We will put the link
Texas time. Which I think is central.
central to what?
Eastern.
To my point. Yes, so Texas time on the 26th, live podcast from Avenger Field, and I'm sure we'll be doing a lot of stories and going live from there. I'm
We
really
may be
excited.
in some sort of costume, so that's worth the price of admission right there.
Is it? Yeah. And also, we want to remind you that from the monumental to the mundane,
Life is full of unforgettable experiences.
All
All
right.
right, make some happen.
make something happen.
and
Schwack
go
hole.
schwack someone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.